This is EntreEd Talk, the podcast for entrepreneurial educators by entrepreneurial educators. We are your hosts, Toy Hirschman and
Amber Ravenscroft. This podcast is created by the National Consortium for Entrepreneurship Education, or EntreEd for short.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the EntreEd Talk podcast. Today, we are so excited to have with us a group of people, including some students. So today we have Deborah Titus, a NIFTY certified entrepreneurship teacher, Jessica Zook, micro society and curriculum coordinator, Alicia Young, an 8th grade scholar and former SGA president and owner of Toddlertown Daycare, and Chance Hoffman, a 5th grade scholar and manager of Mad Science Lab for Micro Society. They are all from the Penn Hills Charter School of Entrepreneurship, and the mission of the school is to ensure all students have a real-life 21st century learning experience in an innovative community-based public school setting that enables them to reach their highest potential. PHCSE effectively infuses entrepreneurship education in all subject areas with a focus on entrepreneurial self-efficacy. PHCSE utilizes the Micro Society program in grades K through 5 to build these entrepreneurial skills in scholars, and the middle school students are engrossed in project-based learning experiences through the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, or NIFTY, curriculum. So welcome, everybody. We're so glad to have you today.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. We'll get started. We're really interested to hear about the school and everything that you're doing. And my kids go to a very traditional school, so this is probably going to make me a little angry, maybe in some ways, but not at you. I'm really excited to hear about this. So you guys are outside of the city of Pittsburgh. That's where Penn Hills is. And Deborah and Jessica, you are both the teachers. We at EntreEd are such big advocates for what you guys are doing, and you're in total alignment with our belief that entrepreneurship should be taught to every student, not just a select few that choose to take a business class or something, later in high school. And we think that the entrepreneurial skills for every student really prepares them for the future. Could you share a little bit about why you think entrepreneurship education is so vital for your students?
Okay, this is Deborah. I teach the NIFTY curriculum. So I believe entrepreneurship education is very vital. With having that frame and that lens for NIFTY, they have 8 core components of their entrepreneurial mindset. And, just to name a few, they're critical thinking and problem solving, creativity and innovation, flexibility and adaptability, and just, many of those qualities. It's very paramount for a lifetime of learning. And it's crucial at the beginning stages of education to foster those types of characteristics. And so entrepreneurship education really helps you think out of the box instead of constantly having a frame for how you think. You really are able to be creative in how you think and innovate and be more of a problem solver as opposed to, and take more initiative, as opposed to just being, waiting for, solutions to come. Students who take part in entrepreneurship education, they really, they create those solutions, and they're looking for ways to solve problems always. And it goes across the board, across various curriculums, whether it's, English, language arts, or mathematics, science. So that's the biggest reason why I believe entrepreneurship education is very crucial. It really hits a lifetime of learning in a lot of those components you use throughout your entire life.
Couldn't have said it better. That's so true. And it's, it's hard sometimes. And I'll ask you this, Deborah, it's hard, especially when you get into middle school and then into high school, when you have such a separation between subject areas. So how do you guys blend the entrepreneurship, like entrepreneurship as an overarching kind of theme throughout the math and English and science and social studies? I mean, is it like a woven through all of them? So there's some continuity.
Yeah. Oh, yep.
Yeah.
I'll let Jess take that one. Yeah.
We definitely do. All the way down to our teachers include an entrepreneurial connection in their lesson plans and in everything that they're teaching.
So they're finding a way to make a connection to whatever lesson that may be, how it would apply to an entrepreneur, to a business owner, to the real world. So we're making those real world connections for our scholars so they're understanding, why this learning is applicable to them and, how I'm going to use this in the future, whether I'm an entrepreneur or in some other field. We hope many of our students become entrepreneurs and we believe they will, but we also believe we're preparing them for the future and growing leaders. And these skills that we're giving them are growing leaders that are going to take over, we hope.
Yeah, that's so true. We talk a lot at EntreEd about how it's not necessarily, we don't measure success as how many kids go out and become entrepreneurs after they get this exposure, because it's just the skills, like you said, Deb, the skills are so crucial regardless of whether you start a business or you go work with somebody else and be entrepreneurial and help grow that business. And like for you both as teachers, the entrepreneurial in the way that you're teaching and the way that you're being entrepreneurs inside of that teaching organization. So it works everywhere. It's so meaningful to get those skills and to give those students that opportunity to be leaders and to own their learning and to understand. So I'm so excited that you guys are doing that. That's just, I'm your choir, really, because it's exactly what we try to do every day at EntreEd and help schools do what you're doing. So this is incredible. So a question, we learned a little bit about the Nifty curriculum. Can you share with us, Jessica, a little bit about microsociety and what that is? Because I'm not sure a lot of our listeners might not know what that is.
Yeah. So microsociety is an amazing program. We've been a 4-star micro school for 5 years now, which is the highest distinction. And the way we were able to reach that is by meeting the components of that program. So our kindergarten through 5th grade classes and whole school is a mini running society. They've named our society Sormania. We are a democratic republic. So when we first opened, the students had to decide on what type of government we would be. We could be a monarchy had they chosen that. They did not. So each year, our citizens of Sormania elect president, vice president, speaker of the House. So we did that last spring for this upcoming year. And currently we're in the process of electing mayors and governors, mayors of each classroom, governors of each grade level. So they all have a leadership role in our society. Chance, one of the students you get to talk to shortly, he has held quite a few of those roles, as well as a peacekeeper. A peacekeeper also patrols the hallways and helps to make sure they keep the peace during the transition to and from work each day. So they do things such as giving out speeding tickets. And also they give out being good tickets. So, there's a consequence, positive or negative, based on your actions in the hallway on your way to and from work each day. Additionally, right now, we have our business proposals are due. So we have actual student-led businesses happening in our society. Some of those carry over from year to year, and unfortunately, some of those close. But also, that's a real-life lesson. If their account balance in their bank balance is negative at the end of the year, their business can no longer run the following year.
Wow.
That opens up the options for some new student-run businesses. So all of our students write a resume, complete a job application. We have a job fair coming up, and they interview for jobs at all of those student-run businesses.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, job fair is an exciting week. After the job fair, all the owners and managers then write out job offer letters to the students, and they are able to accept or deny the job offers they've received. And then in about November, we actually start everyone heading to work about 3 days a week to work in those student-run businesses and create products and services for all the citizens of Sormania.
Wow. So how does work work? You said going to excuse me, to and from work. How do you break up the day like that? How does that look like in the school?
So we talked about how, that entrepreneurship is infused throughout our entire day, but at about 2:00, 3 days a week, our president of our society gets on the announcements and announces to students that it's time for them to report to work. So our student-run businesses are multi-grades and age levels. So there could be a kindergarten working right next to a third grader or a fourth grader, and they're mixed ability or mixed grade levels. They go to work. They're working on. It depends what the business was. So Chance will talk to you in a few minutes about the business he works at, Mad Science Lab, and they're creating slime has been one of their big sellers. They also have sold an experience to come in and do different science experiments. We have other businesses we have a post office. So that's one of our agencies that's government run, of course, and paid for by our student tax money. So all these students also get paid for their work each day. So we have a minimum wage, and they get paid by paycheck and have electronic bank accounts. We have our own school currency. So it's a fully running society.
Wow. That's amazing. How did you get all of your teachers on board with this, and how do you keep that momentum going? And teachers still have, you're a public charter school, so teachers still have to get all of this stuff done. As we hear that all the time, we have all of this curriculum, there's a lot. So how do you get the teachers to prepare the teachers to be able to manage all of this?
Yeah, great question. So I think, first of all, a lot of that's in the hiring process, and we make sure we're hiring teachers that know what our mission is and have the same beliefs about educating students with those entrepreneurial skills and mindset. So everyone's pretty much on board. But then it's continuing, we have a focus this year on also educating our teachers on teaching entrepreneurship. So infusion throughout the day is really important, but we want to make sure we're giving our teachers the tools they need to be able to do that. Of course, we are a public school, right? We need to perform academically on state assessments. And this takes a portion of our day, right? They're at work for an hour a day. So that's hard at times, right? But we realize the importance of it. We realize the learning that's happening during that time. And where you may feel, some of our teachers in the beginning may feel a little bit of fear and how is this working, when they watch the process happen throughout a school year, they realize the benefits and what leaders we are creating and what all the learning that's happening throughout that process.
And I can speak to the, as being, in the classroom, and I'm also an entrepreneur. So some of the teachers may come in and they already, if they're entrepreneurs, then it's a shoe-in. It kind of feeds right in. They know the language, they understand the ups and downs, the challenges, and, a lot of the, successes that you have with leading an entrepreneurial lifestyle. And so that kind of, weaves in very well when you kind of have that component. Especially at least for me, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I have.
So what are you working on currently, Deb?
The biggest one right now is we're going to try to get an LLC, but my partner and I, we have a custom whipped hair and body butter business. So yes, and we make our body butters made to order. So that kind of alleviates, and a lot of my students, they kind of ask, well, how do I balance being a teacher and an entrepreneur? And I taught them that one of the things I've learned as an entrepreneur is that you've got to let the businesses work for you. And so that was one of our, niches, a niche that, my partner and I have, is that the orders are made to order. Like, you can't go into Bath and Body Works and say, hey, can you whip up some sweet pea for me? You can't do that. But with us, you can, and there's a time in the space that, we allow for that in those mixing days, that I should say. So, I think that's the biggest thing that we're kind of working on right now. And the other businesses, they usually are throughout the summer.
When I talk to teachers, I I'm not surprised anymore, but at first I was surprised at how many are entrepreneurs and don't even recognize it because they do so many things in the summertime. I met a guy in Ohio. This is so crazy. He has a business that's thriving during the summer where he chases geese away from people. From people's there's a lot of lakes, and so the geese come and they like invade, and then there's goose stuff everywhere, and he makes a he takes his dog, and the homeowner association pays him every every week. That's really interesting. And I'm fascinated by all of these cool things that teachers are able to do, because teaching is really hard and it takes a lot of time. And then to be able to balance that, it's a good question that your students asked, because that's very difficult. So I want to move a little bit over to the students and talk to Chance and Alicia. Alicia, can you tell us a little bit about what Toddler Town Daycare is and what it felt like starting your own business? And you are in 8th grade, correct?
Correct. Toddler Town Daycare Center, we mostly focus on sanitation, education, and arts of all forms. We want to have well-rounded, make sure that the children that you're bringing in are well-rounded in anything that the parent might want them to be. So basically, we are just trying to make the world a better place by making a better place for people to bring their children.
That's wonderful. How did you come up with the idea for the daycare?
Well, my mom is a nanny and my dad is an entrepreneur. And I've loved children all of my life. So I thought that it would be nice to have a good place for them. I've gone to many places and talked to many people about daycares. And the main reason that most people don't want to send their kid is because they're afraid they're going to get sick. It's not sanitary. There's something wrong there. And I basically just wanted to put all those things that are wrong and turn them all around and bring them into my daycare.
I love it. That's exactly my reason for not wanting to take my children to daycare. And that not getting a well-rounded education. Have you found that it's, do you have kids? Is this part of micro society?
So I'm in the 8th grade, so we don't do like the micro society anymore.
So this is your for real business?
Yes. I haven't gotten started because I am 13 and not technically allowed to handle that many children, but I do babysit, and it's amazing to see the different type of children and how they react to certain things, how every child is different.
Yeah. So would you mind traveling 2 hours to my house and watching my kids?
I would definitely.
That is amazing that you're thinking of those things, because that is a real, especially where I am and everywhere, it's a real need to not only have a clean place, but a place where kids are actually growing and learning every day. That's not always what happens. So that's incredible that you saw those areas of need, and that's what an entrepreneur does, right? They find areas of need and fill them and find solutions to the problems. That's really cool. So when do you think are you going to launch this? How old do you have to be?
So I plan to launch this going into high school, but I do want to set up a simulation here at my school, because we have book fairs and things like that where PTA parents come and volunteer. And of course, those parents sometimes have children that are not in the school yet. So I think it would be nice to have a little daycare set up in the school for those children, so that the parents don't have to worry about the children while they're trying to do the thing they're here to do at the school.
Wow. Also, there might be some teachers that have younger kids that I think when remembering back to my high school, we had a daycare for the teachers' kids in the high school, so you could bring your kids to work with you, which was kind of cool. My mom was teaching back then when they did that. That's really crazy. I'm just so delighted that you saw all of those issues and are thinking about that stuff, because that's not a standard thing that an 8th grader thinks about. So, man, I wish I had a babysitter like you around.
Well, like I said, I've been around kids my entire life, and I think like the most important thing when you're around a kid is getting to know the family and that connection that you have with families. And that's what I want to be different, because you go places and you don't really get that special bond and connection with the different families because everyone's going in and out. I want to have like these special bonds with the children and the families, because one of the hardest things to do, and as an adult I know, is to leave your child with someone that you don't trust.
Yes.
So I want them to be able to trust me and trust my business so that they'll keep coming back and they'll refer more people.
That is, you hit the nail on the head there, sister. That's really great. Yeah, for me, it was always like, are my kids alive and did they have a good time? That was my criteria for babysitting. So we've been pretty lucky most of the time, but sometimes we weren't so lucky. I mean, they're still alive, so that's good.
Thank God, yes.
So Chance, oh my goodness, I can't wait to hear about the Mad Science Lab and what you're doing in micro society. What do you like about entrepreneurship and being entrepreneurial?
What I like about entrepreneurship is that like you can like create your own business, like make what you want to make to sell to like all your different friends, so that they could have a good time while you're having it.
Whose idea was the slime? Who came up with that? Did you come up with that?
That was my owner from last year, Tristan Zook. Miss Zook's son. He's the one that created that business. And then he was in 5th last year. He's moving up to 6th. So he has to sell the business to someone else. He might be selling it to me.
So you are currently the manager then?
Yes.
So that would make the most sense. What are you going to do do you want to buy the business?
Yes, I do.
So what are you going to do to convince this Tristan to sell you the business?
I'm gonna like prove that I'm a hardworking employee and that I can handle the business.
Wow. So what kinds of things besides the slime do you get involved with the Mad Science Lab?
Sometimes we would make lemon volcanoes.
Oh.
Put like baking soda inside of lemon, and then it would become all juicy. And then other times we would make like bath bombs.
Oh, cool. How would somebody buy a lemon volcano? How does that work? Is that a demonstration, or do you somehow have an exploding lemon? I'm not picturing.
Buy it. That's one where they can come to our venture, and then they can do it at the venture.
Cool. So you have a place set up where people can come learn science and do science experiments?
Yes.
Wow, that's neat. I love making big messes with science. It's my favorite thing. Anything that explodes and goes all over the floor, that's my favorite. So what is the coolest thing, Chance, about entrepreneurship?
The coolest thing about entrepreneurship is like during a venture, like you could like make things so you can like see what you like doing for the future of what you want to make your job, like what you want to be hired as, or if you want to make your job, what do you want to make it, like what you want to sell there.
So do you feel like you have ownership or control over your choices and your learning?
Yes.
That's amazing. Because a lot of kids don't feel that way. So it's great that you're able to explore that. And you know what? Sometimes sometimes finding out, Chance, what you don't like is almost as important as finding out what you do like, because then you know, and that experimenting, those micro experiments, those little experiments that you do to kind of find out who you are and what your strengths are. Have you learned about your personal strengths through your experience with micro society?
Kind of. I've learned that I like doing all different kinds of experiments and trying new things throughout the experiments. And I also like making messes.
Right on. That is so, and so you're not, do you always, when you do an experiment, Chance, do you always get it right the first time, or do you sometimes have to go back and fix things and start over?
Last year we have to like retry. Like last year we tried a slime recipe, but the slime was too watery. So then we would look up more recipes, and then we would keep trying different recipes until we found the right one.
Very cool. That's such a big part of entrepreneurship, of not being afraid to fail, like knowing that, okay, this didn't work. We've got to go back and try something else and keep trying until you get what you want. So you finally got a perfect slime recipe?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That was really great. I would like to buy some slime. Maybe I can get up to it. So for both Alicia and Chance, what advice might you give to other students that would be interested in starting their own business? I'll let Chance go first, and then Alicia. What advice would you give to another kid? And let's pretend that student is not in school with you in your awesome school, like they're in a normal school. What advice might you give to him or her?
I would tell them like how hard it is to run a business and how hard they have to work. They have to make sure everybody's on time, they're doing the right thing. And to be an owner, you have to be a leader. Show everybody else what you have to do.
Leadership by example.
You showing them what they have to do, and the business just is going to be a mess.
Mm-hmm. That is some sage information right there. That is amazing. How about you, Alicia? What advice might you give another young person your age about starting a business that hasn't had the exposure and experience and leadership that you've had?
I would probably let them know that when you first start a business, it's not all about the money. It's not all about I need this much and how much you need. It's about what you're giving to the people who you're supplying your stuff for. Like, if say you're starting a hair business, it's not about how much money you're bringing in. It's about the people that you're bringing in and the way that you're doing what you're doing so that they'll bring in more people. Success isn't about how much money you make. Success is about the people that you meet and the friends that you make along the way.
Are you sure you're in 8th grade?
I'm a late birthday.
That you're absolutely right about that, and that having that focus on people and the relationships as your success metric is just going to make you better and better every single day and grow your business. Because if you really care about your clients and the people that you're helping, the money will come. And I think you probably have figured that out, but that's so incredible that you say that. I'm kind of speechless. Oh boy. So how about our educators? What advice might you give to other educators that are just beginning to learn or to think about entrepreneurship education? We'll have maybe Deb go first, and then Jessica next.
Okay. For me, I think the biggest advice I would have for educators is because as adults, sometimes we've been tainted by the world, and the nostalgic piece is kind of gone from us, and we don't really think in an imaginative type of way. So I would say keep your imagination. Go back to when you were, a little pup, and you were just like, playing with your dolls or playing with your toy cars, and just dreaming. So live the dream as you educate the students. Not everybody needs a cynic. I feel like the world is filled with negativity and filled with ideas that get crushed every day. And so when these students, they're coming in with these brand new ideas and just this sense of newness and innocence, draw back to that and consider that when you teach entrepreneurship education. And if you don't teach entrepreneurship education and you're in a school, or I teach it on a daily basis, that's the content that I teach, and other subjects they're weaved in, but still think, these are, let these children dream. You had a dream once, so continue to kind of foster that mindset, and you'll bring out the best in the students. I think that's kind of, what we need as a whole, because these students, that's all they're doing. They're dreaming, and they're trying to bring these dreams to light, not every time do they need to be hit and struck with reality. So that would be my advice. It's just, forever dream, and, use your imagination and continue to let these students imagine, a world that they can solve problems in, even though in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, Lord, I don't know if that, but okay, yes, dream. Like, you got to encourage that. So
That is so true. And I mean, how many of us adult people have had somewhere along the line some influential teacher, parent, coach, or somebody say, oh no, that's a stupid idea, that's not going to work.
Right.
Like when you said, think back just now, when you said, think back to when you had it, I wanted to swim with sharks for a job, and everyone told me that was not a good idea. But I think that it probably would be a good idea. I mean, with the cage, around. But yeah, we do that, and that's happened a lot. I've known so many adults that have said, "Oh yeah, I'm a bad artist. My art teacher told me that." And you're right. We need to encourage kids. I heard a silly, I don't know what it was the other day, but in a speech, this guy said, my favorite nation is imagination. And it's a little bit cornball, but I think that that's kind of cool, because we do forget that, and it gets sucked out of us as we get older. So kids, if you're listening, please keep dreaming, keep your imagination. So how about Jessica? What would be your piece of advice for educators that are interested in being more entrepreneurial?
Well, that's a hard one to follow, I must say. But what immediately comes to my mind is be willing to take risks, and take those risks with your students, and let them see you take those risks, because you're going to create risk takers if they see you as an example of a risk taker, and be willing to learn with them, learn in that process, learn together. When they ask a question you're not sure about, let's figure that out together. And create that community that learns together about entrepreneurial education. I think building that foundation of wanting to learn more, and wanting to improve, and wanting to, how can I make my business better? How can I do this better? Is what's going to create and build what they need for their future.
That is really, really true, and a very tough one for teachers to wrap their heads around sometimes, because kind of in classical teacher training, it's scary. It's scary to not be the sage on the stage. It's scary to not know the answer, and you feel like, oh, I should know this. I should have an answer for everything. And it really is, it's freeing the first time that you do it too, when you just step back and go, you know what, I have no clue. Let's figure it out. Let's do this thing. And creating that in a school as a school culture is unbelievably important for kids to see that, okay, we don't have the answer right now, but let's go figure it out, and with all of the resources at their fingertips, I mean, they have more information in their pockets these days than we had, than like the greatest generation even had in their whole lives. So it's being able to see that I can solve a problem. I know, let me work together with other people and build on their strengths and their wisdom, and let's all work together and solve this. And so that is a valuable thing to be able to do with students, and one of the most difficult things for teachers to get over, because we are generally, I'm a teacher, so I can say this, generally as a species, we tend to want to control the environment. And when you don't know, it can go someplace that you're not, but usually that place ends up being better than you ever expected. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. I appreciate you guys so much. This has been a thrill for me. And, I love having Amber, but it was so nice to be able to monopolize your time myself. Amber is amazing, and I just can't say enough about her, but it's been lovely to be able to do this with you today. So we'll wrap up in the interest of time. How can people connect with the Penn Hills team to learn more about what you're doing in your work?
You can connect with us multiple ways. Please visit our website, www.phcharter.org. Additionally, you can find us on Facebook. We are constantly updating and putting information out there on exactly what we're doing every day. You'll see posts arrive daily. Would you like to add something? Yeah.
And, if anyone's locally here, we're having and you'll get to see more of what our students are doing in the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. They are doing their elevator pitches and looking for mentorship during our Entrepreneurial Summit, which is coming up November 15th. So we're looking for, people to come and see what our students have been doing and working so hard. They've done business plans and pitch decks and canvases. So they're really excited to move forward and share their dreams with the world.
I thank you all so much for being here. It's been an incredible time speaking with you, and I'm so excited about what you are doing. It sounds like an incredible school that all kids should get to experience. So I just really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.